Victims and villains, my name is Josh, and today we are starting our coverage of Salem Horror Fest. This one is called Young Blondes, Stalked and Murdered. Salem Horror Fest is one of my favorite times of year. It has been a few years since we've had the luxury of covering it. Horrific Hope has kind of kept us busy the last couple of years, but we are back this year in 2024. We will be bringing you reviews here on YouTube, as well as our official site, victimsandvillains.net. And then we will be doing a special episode over at Abyss Gazing to talk about some of the movies as well. At a brisk 65 minutes, Young Blondes, Stalked and Murdered tells the story of an aspiring actress who believes that she is being stalked by an LA killer who live streams all of his kills. I wish I was really starting this year off on a positive note, but unfortunately, I just found this one to just kind of be an artistic liberty, which is fine, and maybe this hits for certain people. This just didn't hit for me. There's a point in the movie where the main character that I'll talk about in a few minutes, but she goes to see a movie in this movie, and they get out of the theater, and another character turns to her and says, "What did you think?" And she basically, this is a quote from the movie, she says, "It was kind of slow, kind of boring, and I could not think of a perfect line of dialogue from this movie to describe my feelings on this movie." There are things about this movie that I definitely appreciate. I appreciate the artistic liberties it takes. Stylistically, this movie looks awesome. The cinematography is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. This movie is a mixture kind of between just raw home movie footage to just kind of these weird artistic cutscenes to just the overarching narrative, and that's kind of how it transitions between scenes. I thought that was such a fascinating choice. I really enjoyed that. But again, I've said it before on this channel, I think if a movie looks beautiful, beauty is only skin deep. Elle Chapman is one of the redeeming factors on this movie. She plays our protagonist, and she does the best with what she's given. Most of my issues come from the direction of the story and the direction the story takes. I feel like for a movie, sometimes you can either be entertainment or you can have character development, or if you're lucky, you get both. But you have to have either one or the other. And unfortunately, this movie doesn't have either one. There's no entertainment value for me to grasp onto this. I don't know what I was supposed to walk away either feeling or being compelled by, because it breaks no new boundaries for the genre. And on top of that, you're given such a small cast of characters, and with such intimacy, you would think that you would be able to develop some of the characters, and none of these characters, including Chapman, have any development to them whatsoever. We're introduced to two side characters in this story, and both side characters completely are one note. And with a story like this, you have that advantage, and it's not really a complaint. But again, we spend 65 minutes with our protagonist, and next to nothing happens. And everything that does happen is aggressively predictable. But hey, this movie looks beautiful. So let's run this one through the Rorschach rating scale, shall we? I'm going to go ahead and give Young Blondes, Stalked and Murdered a 1 out of 5. Aside from a few visual aesthetics and some creative choices visually, which I can respect, and a little bit of promise from the Elle Chapman performance, this movie is really dull, it is predictable, and it drags on for its 65-minute runtime. I felt like I was watching a 180-minute movie, not necessarily a movie that's 5 minutes over an hour. Young Blondes, Stalked and Murdered is an official selection of this year's Salem Horror Fest. For more information on the festival and other selections, click the links in the show notes below to check out this year's full lineup. And be sure to check out Abyss Gazing, a horror podcast, wherever you guys get your podcasts from, when we roll out this year's full coverage of it on our podcast feed as well. Let's talk about mental health, shall we? If you guys are new to our content, a mental health moment is where we'll take a theme of mental health out of the film, which we're talking about, break it down for a few moments in the hopes to deconstruct the stigma surrounding mental health. As I mentioned earlier in the video, this movie explores the struggles of a actress looking for work. While I won't give away anything plot point wise or any spoilers or thing like that, sometimes in the seasons where we are searching for something, whether that is connection, companionship, love, hobbies, whatever that is, sometimes we have this tendency, or we can be opened up to the idea of compromise, heartbreak, and just some really things that could potentially be impactful and hurtful later on in our mental health journey. So whether it's new friends, new hobbies, new partners, a new career, new hobbies, whatever have you, in the terms of new, it's exciting and it's invigorating, but sometimes in the process of finding those things that make us feel alive, we have this tendency, or we have a capability in the process of those acquisitions to actually compromise our values and or even create a compromise that comes against the boundaries that we've set up for ourselves in terms of mental health, or we are creating mental health scars and we just don't realize it. My encouragement today would be to stop and take 5 seconds to consider what the acquisition of that holy grail would be for you. Is it worth the scars? Is it worth the journey? And also, is it worth the possible heartbreak that comes with it, or any lasting number of mental health impacts that it could have? And while yes, there will be positive impacts, sometimes when you have the positive, you also have to consider the negative. So consider the mental health journey when you're going and pursuing such things. And as always, if you or someone you know is struggling, consider the links in our show notes below, where you guys will find links to our mental health resource library. Once again, Young Blondes Stalked and Murdered is an official selection of Salem Horror Fest. For more information on the festival, this year's films, and more of our coverage on it, you guys can find links to all of that stuff in the show notes below. Down there, you guys will find links to our other podcasts, more movie reviews, and our subscribe button. So until next time, remember to stay classy and stay spooky. Have a great day.